Hey, welcome to Brighter Rays this week. This study is called What Jesus Did for You. And we're looking at Colossians 2:9-15 this week, so make sure you read that. And we'll jump in. So today's the introduction. So this week we're going to be talking about the gods of self. Now the gods of self are powerful gods. They demand to be heard and to be appeased. If you do not listen to them, they will cry and wail until you do listen. They have their truth that they demand is real truth, despite any other objections. At times, they will demand logic. At others, they will completely abandon it. They love philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition and elemental spirits of the world. The gods of self are always changing. They're so powerful because they are so able to adapt themselves to any situation. They change shape according to the company you're in. If you're in the home, the workplace, or the church, they can morph into any form that would be unrecognizable in other situations. They are always present and always crying out for attention. As Christians, we are daily at the battle against the god of self. Cannot hide from its intrusion because even in our holiest moments, the god of self is looking over our shoulders, wanting to steal glory from God, or trying to distract us as we try, by appeasing its desires rather than what God wants. So as we strive to fight the god of self, we know that our call is to imitate Jesus and to follow his commands to deny the god of self. And so we ask ourselves, what would Jesus do in the situation? How would Jesus act in this case? What would Jesus say here? But even in this, the sneaky god of self creeps in and says, just focus on what Jesus would do. Forget about what he did for you. Forget about what he did do. And so even in our seeking of following Jesus, the self raises its ugly head to try and get what it wants. The god of self is truly evil because it will take, it'll take what would Jesus do and say, well, you know what Jesus would do would be what you would want to do. And so even in those questions, it's twisted. But how do we combat this selfishness within us? Because it's everywhere. You hear it all the time. People leave the church. People get angry because of selfishness. It's a pervasive sin that's everywhere. So how do we combat this constant desire for pleasure, for ease, for glory, for self? How do we fight against the selfish changing of God in our minds to make him like us? We remember what Jesus did. The passage before us tells us of 5 things that Jesus did for us. This is the truth. The god of self, when this passage is read and understood, has to shrink back and hide itself in the corner. It cannot withstand this. All false ideas that it has attacked us with concerning Jesus and the nature of God must crumble under the weight of this truth. So, what did Jesus do for you? That's the question we'll be asking ourselves this week. This confronts the selfishness that is in our hearts because we see what Jesus did for us. And selfishness cannot stand in its presence. So we're going to fight selfishness. We're going to fight wrong thinking. We're going to fight ourselves this week with the truth. And we're going to try to correct our thinking, renew our minds with this word, and hopefully come out on the other side stronger, less selfish, and closer to our God.